Hello, everybody.
Hello,
This is Densu again, and
Justin Ganes.
I do training, strength and conditioning with Justin throughout the week. I started working with him last year, but I wanted to bring him on to talk about his history dealing with fitness, and then also in terms of a lot of things, in terms of like concepts dealing with the body, the mind, and like combining those things to help people out on a day-to-day basis. So, want to jump straight into it in terms of
Yeah.
your background with fitness.
So fitness, let's see, lifelong journey with it. Overweight kid, overweight teenager. When I was 13 years old, for a 13-year-old, I weighed 210 pounds
Bro.
and had a size 40 waist.
Huh.
Um,
I was around the same size.
my activity included like rec baseball and video games. So
What video games do you like the most?
just anything on Nintendo. I had like 90 of them.
You
know what I mean?
played Mortal Kombat?
Yeah, I mean that was when I was 13 though, so I'm a
Yeah.
little bit older than you. So I had the original Nintendo. So
Yeah.
Duck Hunt,
Uh-huh.
Mario 1, 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
But anyway, so long story short is very unhealthy kid,
Yeah.
very unathletic,
Mhm.
uninspired. But I had a lot of want. Like
Mhm.
I wanted to change, I wanted to do
Mhm.
things, I wanted a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I wanted a lot of things, but I
Uh-huh.
didn't understand the importance fully of working for those things.
Yeah.
So 13, 14, getting into middle school, that's a rough time for a lot of kids.
Mhm.
I decided then and there that the pain to change was like great enough to change,
Mhm.
like where I really want to make a difference in myself.
Yeah.
And I lost 80 pounds in a year.
How do you lose the weight at that age?
Back then, it was a lot of just calorie counting. You know what I mean? Like we were becoming as a society more aware of nutrition and our state.
Yeah.
But back then, it was just kind of like number in, number out.
Yeah.
Like you eat this, you burn
Yeah.
this, you lose weight.
Lose weight.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I actually was probably too low. Like it was
Mhm.
between 1,200 and 1,500 calories.
Yeah.
And back then I was probably eating maybe like as a kid like 2,800.
Yeah.
Just like a big amount.
Did anybody help you with it, or you were
Well,
like?
my parents did Weight Watchers,
Mhm.
so that was kind of the framework. Even though I wasn't with Weight Watchers, it was kind of like, okay, here's calories.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to let me be cognizant of a calorie.
Yeah.
And that has its dangers in itself, but that's my start,
Mhm.
right? So started watching that, started just changing that, started to get active with rollerblading, getting out
Oh, I didn't know
more.
you rollerblade.
Yeah, big time aggressive. I went to Woodward Skate Camp in Pennsylvania.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, anyways, got big into that. But so with the calories though, over the course of time, I'd lose initially, 5 pounds a week, which
Mhm.
became too much, but then I was down to 2. But over the course of 52 weeks in a year, I lost 80 pounds, 80 to
Yeah.
85 pounds. Actually got probably too emaciated. I went down to 135 pounds.
You feel like you like went too far?
Too far.
Yeah.
Got rail thin. But as an overweight teen, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I
the
understand.
body image that is
Yeah.
associated with that
Yeah.
is with you for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. My sister say I had like body dysmorphia because of like how big I was for such a long time. Like,
I didn't know you were that big either.
Yeah.
But so go from obese to probably
Mhm.
emaciated, like too thin.
Yeah.
So again, then I had to rethink, okay, that's diet, but now what does weight training do for me?
Yeah.
Right? I wanted to build muscle. I just didn't want to be a rail thin, weak kid.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually put on some muscle.
Mhm.
So then I think I took the natural progression of what most people do. They start to read Muscle and Fitness or Flex magazine back then. Like we had the internet, but it's dial up, and I really didn't know how to use it that well. You just get the magazines, and then so you start looking at whey protein, you start looking at creatine, you start looking at hypertrophy, you start looking at muscle building, and my passion for that kind of grew.
Yeah.
So then it like only became second nature of why don't I get into fitness as a profession? Yeah, of a lifestyle. I mean, I've already lived it.
Yeah.
So my wife, she's a general manager for the Gold's Gyms of Henry County. We actually met at Gold's Gym, and I was like 23.
Oh, cool.
I knew I wanted to do personal training. Went through the personal training academy that they actually hosted, which was a 6-month, 500-hour course.
Yeah.
It was very in depth.
Yeah.
but it was what they needed to actually have coaches there. Like that was what they wanted.
Yeah.
Went through the 6 month there, started training my first clients probably around the age of right when I was 24, turning around that age. What, 38, almost 39 now, so almost 15 years of doing it. My relationship, my views, everything is, you grow, right? Your jiu-jitsu grows, your lifestyle grows. We make mistakes along the way. Do I train and have the same beliefs that I did when I started when I was 24? Not at all. But it's been a journey to get where I am at now. And how do I help myself further? And how do I help you? How do I help the athletes I work with, the people I work with? And like humanity is where I'm at now. It's like, so how do I spread the knowledge that I'm gaining through psychology, through diet, nutrition, neuroscience, all these different realms, and like bring it into one, because you have to have a full recognition and a full approach to health. Like we just can't segregate. This is exercise, this is nutrition, this is psychology, you know, this is medicinal. Like, no, like we have to have that.
How long did it take you in terms of to start having that concept? And then also, what was the catalyst for it?
All right. So competitive functional fitness, you know, I co-own CrossFit Elect over at McDonough. Not really into it now as far as the actual CrossFit methodology, but that was kind of my sport. Like when I didn't have a sport to play, like I got into, let's compete, let's travel, let's push the machine as far as we could. I fell in love with it. Like that was the only way to train, in my opinion. And from the ages of probably 30, maybe 29, 30, up until about 36. It was about pushing
the button,
pushing the machine. What can I do? And you're fed the mantra, mind over matter. That shut up body, do work. Shut up body, do work. That philosophy works until you break. And it's never really breaking. Like you're separating the mind from the body, and that's a mistake in itself. But I didn't know that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's suck it up, keep going. If not, you're less than, or you're not giving what you need to be given. And then so what started out as fun now became work. And then you lose the love for it. And the next thing you know, you replace that with volume because now you're stagnant, and you're not seeing the results. So you think, okay, I need the Lego theory of more and more and more and more, and you keep stacking, and eventually the injuries and dysfunction keep going.
You say it's more so like you start to torture yourself versus build yourself up.
And that's the relationship you have with it. You become almost a slave, a sense to the work that you think is making you better. And you're blinded by your progress because you're doing so much, and there's minimal return. If anything, there's more steps back than there are steps forward. And that comes in injury, that comes in well-being, that comes in sleep, that comes in anxiety, that comes a host of things. So you take that, and you take that shut up body, do the work, don't listen, and you do that for 5 years. Then you get to the point where you don't sleep. You have everything under the sun is injured, or you just feel. I didn't feel athletic. In the gym, I was athletic. Okay, I win this, cool, great, you know, ego.
It builds that. So
but then you have a problem going up the stairs to tuck your daughter in, and you're like, this isn't health. Like, this isn't working. So found the Principles of Strong Fit, which is a phenomenal program by Julian Pinot. He's now based out of Brazil, but I found it 2 years ago, and that was to fix my left shoulder and elbow. I heard it snatching in a competition, so snatched pretty much all the way ground overhead in one movement. Try to save a lift that probably shouldn't have saved, and it tweaked my shoulder. And also, I would displace, so I wouldn't use my left pec for a lot of the lift and shorthead the bicep. I would use the left trap. So I have a kind of a hypertrophy, higher left trap than right. And it would pull that into a bad position. So what I went to find just to fix myself to keep pushing the machine, I found another door, as into how do you relate this to the nervous system? How do you relate this into helping people on an emotional, mental level? How do you rethink your idea of what performance and fitness is, right? So in the world of functional fitness, it's all about time and metric and score.
Yeah.
That's on a variety of movements, but they're still limited.
Yeah.
But what if I need to drag you out of a building because I'm a firefighter? What if I want to walk up and kiss my daughter goodnight and tuck her in? What if I want to go run a 10K? What if I want to do all these different things that I haven't really been doing because I've been so isolated on a sport or the view of the sport? And I looked at that, and then I came home, and it was like almost an epiphany. It's kind of like the Matrix.
Yeah.
Like you've been living a way certain way so long, and then you take the pill, and it's like, do I choose to keep going the path I've been going down, or do I choose to explore again and see what will happen?
See how far the rabbit hole goes.
See,
versus loving the steak.
Exactly, right? And so, like, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I've banged my head long enough. Right? I'd pretty much hit what I considered a ceiling, and now I'm going the opposite way. And then so I was faced with that, like, what do I do? And then that came where the exploration into the nervous system deepened. That's when psychology deepened. That's when the study of like neuroscience and nutrition.
How does the nervous system specifically impact people in terms of dealing with training? And then also, like, where's the connection there?
All right, so your nervous system fundamentally is going to be the basis of everything, as far as inside and outside of the gym. As far as, and when we talk about nervous system, there's different, you have the inner nervous system of the gut, you have your heart has its own nervous system, the central nervous system, which is pretty much spinal cord and all that, and then your peripheral, you have your sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system. Basically, I focus on the sympathetic, parasympathetic side of the nervous system. You think parasympathetic is your rest, it's your break, your relaxation. Your rest and digest is what they used to call it. Science was either black or white. You're either one or the other. We're not one or the other. We're always somewhere in the continuum of it. And then sympathetic, that's your fight or flight response, right? So when it came to movement in the gym, it became apparent of the different states as far as the further your sympathetic nervous system is aroused, the higher levels it can be of anxiety, a flight state, dissociation, all of this stuff. So like in the realm of performance, you can look at it and say, okay, what state is this person in? Are they even present? Are they attacking what they're doing? Do they want to be here? Or are they just void of it and just somewhere else?
Completely.
You know, and so that was...
they're more so going through the motions of it, but not actually doing the workout. You know?
Yeah. So, but... And I'll bring in fighting later or jujitsu, and you'll be able to make more, correlations with that. But like within exercise, it got to the point where people would just come in and suffer, and there was no price to be paid for not being there. It's like, okay, I'm just going to come in, I'm going to mouth breathe, I'm going to throw this weight around however it gets there, I'm going to do the work, rinse, repeat, and over and over and over. And you see that, and then they're not even present in the work that's happening. And I was guilty of that myself. I was in a state of flight. Come in, do the work, turn off your mind, body, do the work, and you're not even present with what's happening.
I see that totally making it more work, like you said, versus actually something you enjoy doing. As when you enjoy doing something, I would think you'd be more present. Versus if it's work, like when people go to a regular 9 to 5, they're just trying to go through the motion and get out of there. You know what I mean?
And it's hunting something versus being hunted. Yes, you're partaking in something, but the work is kind of hunting you. At that point, you're just enduring. You're not chasing greatness at that point. You're not chasing a better Dentsu. I'm not chasing a better Justin. I say I am, but I'm throwing my mind out of the window because I don't want to face the pain that's happening during that time. I'm wanting to just be somewhere else. You see people, high endurance athletes do it all the time. They just check out and go. Well, imbalances happen, stress happens, injury happens, fatigue happens, and they just block it out further and further before they can't even really connect with their body. So through a gym perspective, it was easy to see, but then it became the realization if we do that all the time, no matter what we're doing, like we dissociate, we avoid, we check out of situations we don't want to be in. So then you start to see that in personality traits of individuals. Like you start to just watch them move, you start to watch them talk, you start to watch their behaviors, you start to just see life differently. And you're like, that person's not even here.
Here, yeah, within that present moment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're somewhere far, far away.
Yeah.
And I looked at that and I was like, okay, so movement, I can see that in the gym, and I started to see the patterns that I needed to do to correct my own, not correct my nervous system, but get get more regulated.
Yeah.
How to lower the dopamine, how to lower the adrenaline, noradrenaline, all the stress chemicals. You know, how to find up some acetylcholine, which is the parasympathetic side. How do I find more balance?
Yeah.
Because my nervous system was so aroused, it was so keyed, it was so keyed up. So I could see how to do that through movement, and then I started to see, okay, wait, people are different. I knew people were different. I mean, that sounds common sense, duh. But then it started to look like, okay, you might be on one side of kind of favor one side of the nervous system, and this person might be way keyed up.
Yeah.
The protocol has to be different.
Yeah.
I can't train you the way I train a highly stressed, anxious individual.
Yeah.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can, but now I'm taking the pill, so now I know what these kind of movements and stressors are going to do to you
versus somebody else.
It might bring you up. You might feel fantastic, and I might have crashed that person
at the same time
into a state of panic.
Yeah. I know you talked about that with even the Sandbag Carries, where you have particular people where you and them will bring y'all up, versus me or whatever. I'm like, when is this on the end? Almost immediately.
So, Sandbag Carries. It doesn't bring me and Emma up. Brings us down. So
the anxiety down.
And it doesn't have to be necessarily anxiety. So a sandbag carry, you're going to be held like this. Most of your muscles are going to be held towards your center, which is more of an internal torque style thing. Strong Fit calls it internal torque. More towards your center as opposed to the bears coming out in the way, right? So me and Emma, that's my daughter, by the way. It helps to regulate her because everything is focused here. And also the vagus nerve is somewhat active and triggered. The vagus nerve is the brake for the sympathetic nervous system. So it kind of will down regulate during the stressful event, right? So that balance that we experience through something like an internal movement will sometimes crash you because you're already a little on that side of the arteries. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's where you're going into a freeze state saying, I don't like this. This isn't good. Nervous system, let's shut down. Let's just stop moving because I'm not digging it.
Yeah.
My wife's the same way. You put her on sled pulls with an internal focus of her short head, biceps, pec, obliques, and then she just wants to check out and get emotional.
Yeah.
I'm loving it because I'm feeling great and it's balancing me out.
Yeah.
And she's almost emotional and crying.
Yeah, dealing with it.
Yeah, I mean, Erica's not crying, but you can see it. You can see this is not what I need.
Yeah.
On the flip side, you give her burpees and snatches, and she's feeling alive and feeling great.
Yeah.
You're the same way.
Yeah.
And I might be mouth breathing. I might be, this is a little bit too much arousal.
Yeah.
And so what you look at is we all have different baselines of stuff like dopamine, serotonin, again, like I said, adrenaline, noradrenaline, all these different neurotransmitters, chemicals, hormones that are carrying us either more towards a sympathetic arousal state. You're not just one or the other, but if my lifestyle factors have way more sympathetic arousalness, from how I eat, how I sleep, what I view, am I getting out in the sun? How am I moving? What am I doing? How am I breathing? All of these factors could be adding fuel to a fire.
Yeah. Adding on, what have you learned in terms of food and how food can help drive you being on one or the other side too as well?
Right. So with food,
especially dealing with training too as well.
So food is still something I'm experimenting with myself, and I think that will always be an experiment. And my relationship or my belief with food is there's no right or wrong for anybody, right? I think there's principles to stand by. I think you need to eat whole, natural, real food, right? That needs to be the well, let's cover that. Let's eat real food. You know what I mean? Let's try to eat as organic, as clean
as possible,
as on the perimeter of the grocery store, not processed.
What's inside? The middle.
Let's eat what we were created to eat. First of all, now when you go a little step further, does keto work for some people? Does carnivore work? For some people. Does vegan work for some people? Yes. We're all going to have different reactions, different allergens, different things with food. So that's going to be an individual approach.
Mhm.
Now, I don't count calories.
Yeah.
I don't count meals. I might, like today, I've like maybe on hour number 7 or 8 without having a meal.
Yeah.
And it used to be every 2 hours.
Yeah.
Every 2 hours eat. Every 2 hours eat. And then it had to be 3,500 calories. And it had to be structured. Now it's more of, are you hungry?
Yeah.
And what are we doing?
Yeah. That's what I've been trying to do lately too. Is I try to pay more attention to my hunger cues versus anything. 'Cause I feel like whenever I like starve myself because I'm trying to fast, or if I overeat or whatever, I'm not even hungry if I'm eating anyway because I want to eat. Both of those drive my weight a lot higher. Versus, let's say if I'm hungry one day, like constantly or whatever, and I'm eating constantly, yeah, I don't know why or whatever, but it will cause my weight to go down. And then some days I'm like, yeah, I don't feel like eating, and then I'll eat like 2 times a day or once a day or whatever, you know. And so, but then it'll keep my weight more in a constant state versus trying to be on a regimen every single day, especially since every single day is different.
Yeah, every day is different. Every stressor is different. We don't always have the same amount of fight.
Hmm.
We don't have the same things to tackle. There's certain days where we're like, man, let's hit the reset button.
Yeah.
Like, I need to eat.
Yeah.
Like, I need some carbs. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like, but that's becoming more in tune of what does Dentsu need?
Yeah.
Does he need to rest and relax? Does he need to push the go button? What does he need? And what is the fuel that he needs to support that?
Yeah.
And it was the same with me, and it's become of I've had to break the mold of you have to do this, you have to have this many calories, you have to go low carb, you have to go no dairy, you have to listen to you, and how does this affect Dentsu?
Yeah.
Because the way movement affects you and me differently, food is going to affect you and me differently. But as long as we have the principles of whole, clean food, then we can have something to work on.
Yeah. I like how like Paul Saladino, he talked about like he's known for being on the carnivore, diet side, but he also talks about utilizing it more so as a reset versus as you're just going to be strict carnivore. And so he would tell people like, oh, hey, be carnivore for like a month, and then start reintroducing things into your diet. But in that way, you kind of like clearing the slate or purify yourself of all the stuff that you have been eating, then you can be able to start introducing things and experimenting and seeing what actually affects your body in a good way and what affects your body in a bad way.
Yeah.
So then you can keep other things out and be able to apply other things back into the system.
And it's that it's knowing, and I refer to a lot of people as we're all blank canvases.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's going to influence us one way or another. Nutrition. You drink alcohol. There's going to be a cause and effect to alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not against it, but I know that if I'm partaking alcohol, there's either going to be a buzz, there's either going to be drunkenness, there's going to be a hangover. It's going to do something to me.
Yeah.
But yet we don't think of the same thing with carbohydrates or protein or fat. Anything we're intaking is going to influence us in some way or another. And it's taking that and saying, what is this food? How do I react to this food?
Yeah.
What's it doing to me?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I take some honey before I work out because I want that quick, fast energy, and I feel it.
Yeah.
Do I need honey 5 minutes before bed?
No.
I'm not. I'm not. It might influence me to have more energy, but I don't need that energy before I'm trying to get restful sleep.
That reminds me of like the concept of like you put in energy based off of what you're utilizing it for. And I think the issue nowadays is so many people are putting in energy, but not based off of what they're utilizing that energy for, but more so based off of what they like to eat. You know what I mean? And so it's not eating with a purpose. Even though sometimes it's cool to like just eat whatever, but if you're always just eating whatever versus eating based off of the energy you put out, then it's mathematics, and then you just start storing more and more.
Well, it's interesting you said that. So, like, what we do also with food, and I was guilty of it myself as well. We look for pleasure, right? So, when you look at dopamine, like we want dopamine. Dopamine is going to be the molecule of pursuit and reward.
Yeah.
Not happiness. That's usually serotonin, but dopamine is like I'm pursuing something.
Yeah.
And you take food and your baseline, and food will raise it, at least 1 times your baseline of that pursuit of food. But also we look for food for comfort.
Yeah.
So without actually going in the world to find a true pursuit, we'll sometimes reach for food because that's the easy dopamine fix, right? So
especially nowadays.
Oh yeah, like it's a microwavable society.
Yeah.
We open up our fridge and we have whatever we want. we're never cold, we're never hungry, we're
Yeah.
never any of that stuff. But food is such a crutch for comfort. So comfort food. I mean, you know what happens. You eat this, you get a serotonin release,
Yeah.
you know, and then you dopamine. Yes, you've pursued, but your reward was cheap.
Yeah.
It took me nothing to open up my fridge and get that.
Yeah.
But the problem with that as well is for every increase of dopamine of reward, there's also craving and pain.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a continual
Yeah.
open feedback
Yeah.
cycle of, okay, eat. I didn't do anything to really earn this.
Yeah.
Now there's craving for more of that.
Yeah.
And then you do that, and then you're down on yourself, and then
Yeah.
now everything is,
You're like, damn, it's not bad.
well, then you become dysregulated as well. Your insulin level spikes, you know, your blood sugar, hormones, and all this stuff, but yet you keep eating because that feels good at the moment.
Yeah.
So sometimes we'll have that crutch, whether it be food, whether it be substance, whether it be alcohol, drugs, exercise. We look for that quick dopamine, or, you know, that quick fix to give us that satisfaction and reward.
Yeah. It also reminds me of how people talk about not finding mental satisfaction, or like not relying on your mental health being in different like things that you succeed in or whatever, like being constantly in a good state and being happy with who you are no matter what you do or what you accomplish. And I bring this up because what you said reminds me of what Tyson Fury was talking about, what happened to him after he won the heavyweight title. He was saying that he hit his bid as high, but at the same time he went and hit his bid as low because he never dealt with the depression that he had. And so because he never dealt with the depression that he had, you know, as soon as that dopamine was super high, but
And
then
then
caused it a
super
super crash. Yeah. Which I think is like essential for people to be able to look at, because like you say, even when it comes to dealing with the training, right? Like we can look and we can like try to like constantly train to get that dopamine high of, oh, I succeed in this, I succeed in that. But then because we're not dealing with the other underlying issues that we have, it never is satisfying us. But then we can also crack just as hard, you know, when after after we succeeded in something too.
it's finding joy in the pursuit,
Hmm.
and it's finding joy in the struggle, and it's finding joy in the learning.
Yeah.
Right? It's not the end goal, because that end goal is always going to have that crash. Like, we've
Yeah.
obtained it, now what?
Yeah.
But as long as you stay in love with the art of what you're doing,
Mhm.
then you stay, I think, engaged.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about just being present and enjoying all the moments you have within that.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah.
So if, like, jujitsu, if everything you did was for a tournament and you didn't actually love the sport,
Yeah.
you didn't love to train, you didn't love to roll, you didn't love learning, you're always going to be let down.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't matter how many medals you have, there's always going to be that void of,
Yeah.
you know, of that.
Yeah.
But you can keep training,
Yeah.
and as long as you love being in the gym,
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
that, and now it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The medals will come.
Yeah.
So instead of pursuing
Yeah.
that, they'll naturally, your accolades will come,
Yeah.
but you don't really care,
Yeah.
because now you're enjoying your growth,
Yeah.
and you're enjoying learning, and that stuff's just cool. It's good to have.
Yeah. I think within me, it reminds me of a switch that I made where it was so focused on like competing, be able to compete very well, you know what I mean, be able to beat people and this, that, and the other. It went from a switch from that to a switch to, well, how do I enjoy this for the long term? And enjoying learning versus enjoying trying to beat people, you know? But the more I enjoy learning and doing actual jiu-jitsu, then I started doing a lot better versus focusing on winning and beating people. Then my jiu-jitsu went down. I'm just mostly like aggressive and this, that, and the other. And if I want to do this long term, like you said, you have to enjoy it. Like you have to stay in a good state. And I think what I've been even trying to do when I work out with you, instead of trying to compete with you or whatever, or try to prove to myself how strong I am and this, that, and the other, I try to stay in a good state and enjoy what I'm doing, you know, because so I can be, this is something I would want to do on my own for a long term and something that I like versus I have a negative association with it because it's more so like war and a battle, you know what I mean? Like I don't want my whole existence dealing with exercise or dealing with jujitsu to be a war, but something I enjoy progressing in and it's fun. You
Yeah.
know, whenever something is fun is a lot better. It's also like how like parents will push their kids, you know, and they'll at that such a young age, and it made it much more like tense for the kid because then now the kid has to worry about how they perform all the time, and it becomes a lot more like a chore, versus something they enjoy doing and that they can have fun with, and then they don't do it for a long term period of time. As soon as their parents start telling them what to do, they stop doing it, they drop it, or they find a way out of it. And so like when it comes to that, when it comes to learning, I even see how like the educational system can be better in terms of making learning more enjoyable, not just in school but outside of school. Because learning should be something that people do actively in order to compound knowledge to turn into wisdom, versus something they have to regurgitate. You know, when there's like regurgitation, it's not actual in-depth understanding within what they actually learn. And then like your the wisdom of the next generation goes down. I feel like that's something that like can't allow. I can't say it can't be allowed to happen, but it's something that's like unfortunate if it does happen.
Mesmer, help me out. Memorization
Yeah.
will only take you so far.
Mm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, you have to know the knowledge. Like, you have to understand the information that's going on.
Yeah.
So with our training, if you only memorize the work, but you don't look at the intent,
Yeah.
and you don't go further than that, now all it is a workout program.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll apply that program for however long, but not understanding what's the deeper meaning behind this, or how do I put my own influence on that, or how do I apply that to somebody else?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the same, I guess, with jujitsu.
Yeah.
Like, there's principles with jujitsu, but I might move differently than somebody that's 5'3".
Yeah.
Or have different length of, femurs and arms and whatever. So you have to teach me the same thing, but just memorization.
Yeah.
Now you're blocked.
Yeah.
Now you can't be well versed and show this guy or this girl or all this stuff the philosophy that you're trying to portray.
The concepts.
Because you've only memorized.
I think a lot of people are reverting back to teaching more concepts versus just teaching technique. So I was just talking to Louise, and I was talking to him about how a lot of people don't learn that jujitsu, like a lot of this martial arts stuff, comes from being able to off balance people and manipulate people's body by finding how to get people off balance. But if you're thinking of things in a technique oriented way or in a fight oriented way, your ability to execute actual jujitsu goes down because you're not thinking, oh, hey, how do I balance the person in a particular way to manipulate them to a particular end, you know? And so, like, when you look at that core of, oh, hey, the concepts, then the way you can off balance somebody can be completely different than Louise off balancing somebody. But then if you understand the person's body, then you can be able to adapt to the people's bodies so you can still be able to balance everybody versus if you're trying to do something the same way as Louise, it's not going to work, in the long run. Certain things are going to be unilateral, but some things are just going to be different. And I feel like if there's more of an understanding of why you do things, you'll be able to adapt to the situation. Yeah. It was one thing that I think that came to mind though while you were talking was, and it's something that I started doing, because you talk a lot in terms of like sensory of like the skin and how like in competing sometimes to turn myself up, I started slapping myself or whatnot. And the reason for that, because a lot of times people see that, like whether it's fights or this, that, and the other, but they think that somebody just like, I don't know, they take that douchebag is or weird or whatever, but why can that help particular people doing that?
Okay, so.
Or not help particular people too.
Right, so we just go back to our already baseline sympathetic arousal.
Mm-hmm.
You take somebody like me, my fight or flight switch is very quick. I, had a lot of anger in my life, had a lot of frustration, a lot of impatience. It doesn't take as much to get me to that state of, okay, let's go, as it may you, right? So we're looking at trying to be in an optimal state between a flow and a fight. So we need cognition, we need awareness, we need accuracy, we need aggression. But sometimes our aggression might be a little too high. In my case, do I need to just run around with some five-finger death punch and slap myself before a roll with you? No. I don't need any more of that. Yeah. I'm already hyped. Yeah. I need to think, how do I move? How do I breathe? How do I stay in control? This is going to get me in some bad spots. If I'm overly aroused, I'm not there.
Yeah.
I'm already in flight.
Yeah.
And then the mouth breathing occurs, and then the panic occurs, then the pupils will dilate, looking for more threats.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, the face clenches, and then
Yeah.
you're panicked, and you can see it in their movement and breathing. That person's panicked. They're about to give. So if I do that before a fight, I've already put myself in a negative place. I've started the fight. Let's say we have 5 gears. I've already started in 4th. Essentially, right? And we only have 5, and first, second, and third is not taking it easy or not necessarily pacing, but it's stuff that I have within my toolbox, within my capacity. I've already bypassed all those gears. I'm going to redline. And guess what? You're going to tap me very soon, and I'm not going to know what the hell happened. Whereas you need that up because sometimes you're starting a little too slow. Right? So you're like, man, I'm stuck in first. I'm not even feeling it that much. And I'm sitting there, I'm nervous. You need the arousal. You need the let's go, let's jump, let's get the osteocalcin, let's get the impact. Let's get the up. So that's bringing you to this. Now if we're only looking at a kind of like an arch, and my arousal's here, I need to come down to a better state before the match starts. You're here, we need to bring you up to an optimal state. Either way, we want to be on top. We want to be that good mix of adrenaline but focus. Right? So if you look at the brain and the body, adrenaline doesn't cross the blood-brain barrier. The brain will create its own source of adrenaline. The peripheral, the body, will create its own source. So if you look at flow under pressure, or a great state, is when the brain is still in control, but the body still has the fight hormones. Does that kind of make sense? Like, so
it feels like more like the Matrix mode,
if you want to call it that. But the body's primed and ready. It's good to go, and the brain's calm. And the brain can think. But however, when the brain gets overloaded with adrenaline, that's going to carry that arousal of the nervous system, which is going to carry you to a state of flight, and then freeze, which is, okay, I'm done. And I'm sure you've seen that in people. Like, they start panicked, the mouth breathing gets very deep, it gets they're wearing themselves out.
I think one of the most beneficial things you have told me before is listening out to people's breathing and my own breathing within rolling with people, So now half the time what I'll do, especially when I'm stopping in the middle of a roll, is to listen to the person breathe and how much they're like, or if you have like a choke on, instead of just like worrying about whether or not it's tight, I'm like, hey, how about actually check how they are right now and how their breathing is. And if I hear them like breathing slower and slower, more than likely, it's like closer and they're like gasping a little bit, But if they're like, that means they're like running out of energy.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because whether it be in this gym, whether it be in my gym, whether it is, we attribute that stuff to, I need more work. I need more conditioning. I need more jujitsu. I need more. That's not always the case, man. Like, you can hear people panicked, and they don't need to just run more. They don't need more cardio. They don't need more conditioning. They'll think, I need more of the exercise. You need to learn how to control. You need regulation. Right? Because as soon as the fight starts again, you're panicked. You might have a sub 18 5K. You might be a cardio machine, but this fear exposure is carrying you to a negative place. It is upregulating you too high, and you're causing panic, and it doesn't matter how conditioned you are, you're getting into flight and freeze. So it's becoming aware of, no matter what that fear is, getting used to it, getting exposed to it, and staying controlled in it, and not giving into it. A lot of times it's easier to give in to the stress and endure it. Right? So, again, it goes back to, like, the body can just do whatever the mind wants. Yes, that is a setting. That doesn't need to be your default. That needs to be your survival. Right? At some time, you have to say, Dentsu, we are getting out of here. Body, get this work done. But you weren't created to live there. But we train sometimes like that. But then we don't know how to fight off the stress. We know how to survive stress or deal, but we don't know how to say, nope, we're not stressed. We don't know how to push the envelope further to where I'm good. I'm not stressed. And so that's where regulation will come. And,
I've seen that, like, when we do, like, conditioning, or a lot of times what happens is, like, instead of trying to start off hard now, I try to start off in a good state and build up. And the reason why is I don't want to see it as a stressful thing, but something that I'm actually enjoying and I'm attacking versus something that I'm battling, you know?
Yeah.
And so when that happens, I find myself be able to like allow myself to do mental checks throughout the workout a lot more, especially if it's hard, and be able to bring myself back down. And then when I do that, I control my breathing a lot more. And when I control my breathing a lot more, then I can stay at a faster rate for a longer period of time versus doing a fast rate at a short period of time and then mouth breathe. And then I feel like I'm suffocating. You know, I feel like I'm underneath the water or whatever. I'm trying to reach the surface, but I can't reach the surface. But I'm doing everything I can to paddle versus being like, hey, we're cool. We're actually still able to breathe even though we're underneath the water. And now we can actually use our arms still to keep coming up. And yeah, it hurts a little bit, but let's keep like the airflow to help keep the pain down, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And so it's being constantly aware within what's supposed to be the struggle and it becomes from the struggle to something that's more fun and more enjoyable. And I think that I was too, like before I started working with you, I was too much on that side. It was totally the Lego theory. It was totally every like to get better, you just had to stat more on, you know. And then like when you did like the assessment with me, as he did a like a physical assessment of my body, I wasn't surprised at all what you said, and in no way did I try to reject regret what you call reject anything either. I was just like, oh, hey, well, what do I need to do to fix this? You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Because it really did. Like he talked about in terms of like the how it causes like muscle imbalances in terms of like you already spoke about it a little bit in terms of yourself, but can you talk about what you would think like a lot of people based off like the movements in jiu-jitsu, what they have to watch out for overworking like certain muscles and underworking certain muscles?
That that would be really hard.
Hmm.
So I mean, because we're all different, right? And our bodies are all different canvases. They all tell different stories.
Yeah.
But within somebody, like if I haven't done an assessment on them,
Hmm.
I would tell them to honestly look at their movement
Hmm.
patterns and see what they see within themselves. First, if it's painful, stop.
Hmm.
Right? Like I hate hearing people like squat and they think they have a squat problem. A lot of times they have a barbell problem. They'll barbell back squat, their knees and hips hurt, their joints hurt, they don't even feel it in their legs. But they're doing a painful motion because the UFC fighter does a painful motion. But he doesn't do it with pain. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So
Yeah.
we're different.
Yeah.
So you might not have a problem with that. I might, but
Mm.
squatting's not bad. I just need to find how do I squat without that pain.
Yeah.
It might be a sandbag. It
Mhm.
might be, okay, well, I shift to the right, my right hamstring and glute might not be connected as well or firing as well.
Mhm.
I need to build that structure.
Yeah.
I need to build that up and become true with myself of saying, okay, let's connect this. Let's not worry about the load that I'm moving,
Mhm.
and let's worry about feeling it where I need to feel it
Yeah.
to build the structure. Right? It's the same because, like, you had the left hypertrophy trap as well. Your left pec wasn't as engaged as
Mhm.
much. You were on the road to a left shoulder injury,
Yeah.
probably, right? The way you move.
Yeah.
Like, so we had to rebuild some of that stuff.
Yeah.
You look at your right oblique, and you also look at your right hamstring and glute. We're looking at knee injuries
Mhm.
if that structure isn't built correctly,
Correctly. Yeah.
right? So we've got to address those issues,
Mhm.
and that's going to be in jujitsu. It's hard because you don't have time. Like there's control, but
Mhm.
you're doing what you want to my body,
Yeah.
and I'm resisting what you're
We're
trying to
doing it.
do to my
Yeah.
body. Like we don't have time to. Is my feet good? Is
Yeah.
my obliques embraced?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is all
I
this
see what you mean.
good?
Yeah.
In the gym, we have the time.
Yeah.
We have the time to say, how am I moving? Am I moving well? Do I feel it? Am I connected? Is all this stuff happening? In the gym, we build the structure.
Yeah.
We build the base. We do jujitsu, and we hope our structure supports it.
Yeah.
And because now we're in the real world. Now
Mhm.
we're in the fight. Now
Yeah.
we're in chaos,
Mhm.
right? And you can do some stuff to me,
Yeah.
and I can try to resist some stuff,
Yeah.
but I hope that my structure's strong enough to
Yeah.
support what you
What
might
you
do.
do. Yeah.
Or I could keep creating imbalances,
Mhm.
neglect them, not fix that stuff, keep
Yeah.
moving poorly,
Yeah.
and then I'm probably going to break faster.
Yeah. And like what you were talking about, like at the beginning, in terms of how you're like training hard and like competing hard and everything like that, but then like not able to go up the stairs. Like I was 25 years old and similar things were happening to me where if I wasn't training, like getting out the bed was hard, you know. it hurt, but I thought that it was supposed to be like that because that showed that I was training like hard. That showed that I was really about it. You know what I mean? And if I wasn't in that bad state, if I wasn't feeling broke down, and then I would try to get to that place in order to show to myself that I'm actually pushing myself the way I need to push myself and not taking rest either. I think one of the biggest things that I've like adapted into like just training throughout the week is taking a day off, at least one. Because I think one of the things that you taught me like we do these things to like work hard or whatever, but then those growths happen when we rest and recover, and then our body's like, okay, cool, we're stronger, and then we can attack again a lot better when it comes to resting, and then when it comes to sleep too. And I think one of the coolest things was listening to Matt Frazier talk and how like when he's in competition season, he tries to sleep like 10 hours a day because of the workload
The
that he's
volume
putting
he's
on his
doing.
body. He's like, I have to have the recovery. And I think that recovery is very essential versus feeling like we have to go like ham. Like we're not anime characters. We're not like Goku and Vegeta who are like aliens that can like rehab ourselves. But I feel like even like me, I come from like a generation where it's like we reference that for training too, and then we want to go hard like them, and then we go too hard like we're anime characters when we're not. We're real human beings. We're not about to fly. We're not about to heal super fast or whatever. All the different things don't happen like how they happen on the stream. And so we have to have a reality check as to what we need to actually do, in order to keep ourselves going efficiently.
And it goes back to that gear analogy that I gave, right? So back from a nervous system approach, like I have to understand first and second gear makes me better.
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to understand what the rest, relax, what the recovery does for overall optimal performance.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I found those gears within myself, when I could go into the gym and go at 70%, because it was an aerobic capacity day, it wasn't of I'm meeting Jesus day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
have those days,
Yeah.
but it's not every day, right?
Yeah.
So when I realized, okay, this is building my aerobic capacity. Now this is testing it. Now
Mhm.
this is doing different things. When I could experience first and second gear, it made me perform better. It made me move better. It made me think better.
Mhm.
It made me just made me better.
Yeah.
When I was able to prove to you fifth gear safe,
Yeah.
let's go there.
Yeah.
Your performance expanded.
Yeah.
So it's almost that in itself because our nervous system is about keeping our safety. Like we don't. There's some people that we need to show, hey, it's okay to redline.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to get there. We can go. And there's some people like me. You have to say, Justin, take a day
Yeah.
off.
Hey,
You know,
chill.
don't
Yeah.
do anything.
Yeah.
You're just gonna further arouse, further, more fuel on the fire, more. But that's the way I gravitate.
Mhm.
So it was a realization of, wait a minute, this this is the way we need to go further, you know,
Yeah.
excel more. And in doing that through, and like I said, it's a full approach as far as movement, breathing, nutrition, sunlight, sleep. It's so multifaceted.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And the further I've gotten with that, the more regulated I've had, then I equate that to overall better health and wellness.
Yeah.
Like I think I still perform better than I did 2 years ago,
Yeah.
but that's not the only marker I have.
Yeah.
Do I sleep better? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I sleep way better. Am I more active? Yeah. Does it hurt to go up the stairs?
Yeah.
No. Can I
Yeah.
still do these things? I mean, sometimes if I do too
Yeah.
much,
Yeah.
but do I want to talk to people? Do I want to make connections? Do I want to get out in the world? Do I want to take on new projects? Do I want to live?
Mm.
Yes. With performance, that is way better than just killing myself for one
Yeah.
egotistical goal,
Session. Yeah.
which was your jujitsu
Yeah.
and which was my
Yeah.
functional fitness.
Yeah.
But now, reworking ways, we can excel in what we enjoy,
Mhm.
but we can enjoy the process and enjoy so many other
Things
things
at the same time.
at the same time. I've fallen in love with now training jujitsu. I didn't train jujitsu really before I mean, we met through the
Yeah.
assessment,
Yeah.
and now I'm learning a new activity, a
Yeah.
new sport, a new challenge, a new adventure.
Mhm.
You're into physical fitness with me.
Yeah. Way more. It
That's
was.
new.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're falling in love with that, but it's helping your game.
Yeah.
And doing this is another form of help me
Yeah.
with whatever.
The last thing that I wanted to ask you about, or have you talked about, is a particular book, The Body Keeps the Score, right? And how, in terms of that book, has helped you in terms of dealing with training, and how you think that can help other people too as well. Not just training, but with life, period. Like the concepts in it.
Do you remember the name of the other book I referred to you?
I don't, truthfully.
I don't either. I'm trying to remember. It's not Waking the Tiger. No, it's but it's
Eye of the Tiger.
No, I like The Body Keeps the Score is a good reference.
Yeah.
It's a good book. The other one I read was even better, and I don't know if you can put it into the whatever if I give it to you. Whenever I find out what it is.
Yeah.
If you give me a second, I'll actually look. I got my phone right here. Just because I want to give out the best reference that I can. Let's see. I think it's Peter Levine. Let's see. I'm sorry.
You're good.
Give me 1 second. It's by this author. Let's see. Okay. It's not Waking the Tiger, but he does have a book called Waking the Tiger, but it's under Peter Levine is one of the articles. And him and I want to say it's Van Polk might be the Body Keeps the Score guy. Anyways, both references are for somatic therapy. Somatic therapy is the way the body will hold trauma, will hold PTSD, will hold emotion. And it's opened my eyes to realize, okay, that there is a deep connection within that world. And it is a form of psychology that I'm superly intrigued in, but it's more of a holistic. It's viewed almost as not voodoo, but you know what I mean? It's kind of like naturalistic.
Yeah.
Like our body's a canvas. Like, what is our body saying?
Yeah.
Like, what is our movement saying? Like, where's that energy going? Like, where's that anger held? Where's that, abuse? Where is that abandonment? Where's those insecurities? Like, what is our body saying about our story?
Yeah.
Because we all have those issues. And that's what I found it so fascinating when I did your assessment. You have you who, how old are you? 26 years old, jiu-jitsu has been your thing.
Yeah.
Me, 38 years old. Functional fitness has been my thing. We just started training together this year, right? So we didn't have the same movement patterns. We didn't have the same exercise program. We did totally different things. But yet our bodies had the same imbalances. We had the same left hypertrophy, high trap. We had the same, imbalanced left pec. Our right oblique didn't connect as much as our left.
Yeah.
Our right hamstring, not as connected as the left. Yeah. We had all of these stuff within our canvas, our body. And it wasn't through movement. Yeah. But yet it's muscular imbalances. Yeah. And it wasn't until me and you started to talk to realize our stories were so similar of, okay, our bodies are saying that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so these emotions are here and it's being displaced or being projected in our physical being.
Yeah.
And people, I think sometimes just, they don't understand or they might not be willing to open their mind to, just because you might not feel angry, you might be repressing it somewhere and it's showing.
Yeah, and it's showing your body.
Yeah, and where's the stress going? Where's the neglect going? Where's the insecurities in your life? How are you manifesting that within your being?
Yeah.
Because that energy's there.
Yeah. I think what it did with open my eyes is I was taught in terms of like when it comes to like healing yourself mentally or spiritually, a lot of it wasn't in terms of bodily wise unless you had like a bodily injury, But then, one cool thing that happened was when we were working like the inner thighs one day, and I think it was the Bulgarian split squats, and I finally like connected to the muscles within my inner thigh.
Your inner hamstring and
my
glute.
Inner hamstring and glute, and what it caused to happen was a bunch of like repressed memories came flooding in that I have not like. It wasn't even like it was probably like subconsciously forgetting them and like storing them away, because I didn't even remember storing them away, and then I didn't remember them at all either. And so when they started flooding out, I started like tearing up as I was like, oh snap, these are things that I've been holding in that I've never let go and I haven't even associated with. And, I'm just like stored it away completely. But I was able to connect to it by connecting to a part of my body. And I think that doing that has helped me like associate with my body that much more. I think a lot of times I associate more so with my brain and that's it, and not my body being me too, or how what's going on in my brain affects my body too as well, and when I do that, and I disassociate from my body, I tend to abuse my body, whether that's food, whether that's training, or what have you, but at the same time, it help like it not necessarily help you, but help in terms of like forgetting certain things you don't want to address, but you have to address it. Because, like you said, one way or another, you're storing it within yourself, but it's not helping you to store it. Sometimes it's good to connect with that part of you, release it, shed the tears out, and be able to help you move on from it and learn the lessons from it. But if you forget about it, just like forgetting to work a particular part of your body, you're all doing one thing, and then that is not growing. You can't grow fully to your full potential. So that's why I thought, like, when you brought that up to me, I was like, oh, snap. I felt very fortunate to be able to learn that at such a young age, you know,
That's cool.
because I don't feel like it's something that a lot of people address or even think about.
It's a lot of stuff we'll discredit, I
Mm,
think. Just because, again, you start talking that, and there's almost a sense of woo
mm,
of, come on. Yeah,
yeah,
through movement, you can connect to this. You know what I mean? Like you're bringing up memories through
yeah,
exercise and healing through movement and
yeah,
breathing. We, we really have got to open our mind and realize what that's capable of.
mm,
Like Western society, we want the scientific answer
yeah, it's everything.
and the quick fix.
Yeah,
We want the pill.
yeah,
We discredit the easy solution, the unscientific solution, but the one that requires effort.
yeah,
It's nothing for you to take a pill for serotonin
mm,
or dopamine or whatever neurotransmitter. It's another thing for you to have to go out there and change the world
mm,
to produce it.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, well,
yeah,
one is there's quick,
yeah,
the other requires effort,
yeah,
but it's holistic
yeah.
versus scientific.
Yeah, I
So
think it's a similar thing in terms of going out and talking to people versus testing
yeah,
on an online forum, you know?
it's ruined us. But
Yeah.
anyways, but back to the movement, and that's what I fell in love with is I didn't tell you what you would experience.
Hmm.
That's not up to me to tell you what you experience. I can look at your body and think, okay, this is showing me these emotions might be there. Is this person going to open up to me? And that's our relationship. And that's for me and each person that I work with
Hmm.
is you're coming to me, you have right shoulder pain, cool. Let's fix this. I can fix it through movement.
Hmm.
If you want to go a step further into emotional connection,
Hmm.
it might happen. But that's going to be up to you to be
To
willing
do it.
to go there.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to push that.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put those thoughts in there before. Like I didn't say, hey, Denzel, you're going to have childhood memories and you're
Yeah.
probably going to tear up because we're doing Bulgarian split squats.
Yeah.
I said, no, I know what the hamstring and glute usually
Yeah.
holds.
Yeah.
We started to work this and that stuff came up and it wasn't a surprise to me.
Yeah.
But you experienced it because you were able to actually have that mind body
Yeah.
connection and those thoughts came
Yeah.
and you were willing to go there.
Yeah.
And you see athletes or people, I call people athletes or whoever, that right when it gets there, they'll shut off.
Yeah.
They'll check out.
Yeah.
They'll go somewhere else.
They don't want to address it.
They don't want to address it. They don't want to face it, or they're not ready to face it.
Hmm.
And the beautiful part about movement is your journey,
Hmm.
right? I can keep pushing that because I want it to come out, but it's ultimately up to you to concede and say, yes, we're facing this.
Hmm.
We're releasing this. We're letting it go.
Yeah.
Versus me and acupuncture, what I'm not against. I've never had it, but
Yeah.
I'm not forcing this happen.
Yeah.
Then so you're going to experience that. You're going to connect to that muscle that's not there, and you're going to face whatever you need to face when you're ready to face it.
Yeah.
And if you want to tell me what happened, I'm here for that, and I know the buttons to push to help with that.
Yeah.
But I don't sell that to begin with because
Yeah.
then people start to expect it.
Yeah.
They start to expect, oh, what's going to come up? They're already worried, like what skeletons in my closet are going to come up,
Yeah.
and they're not present. Then they're not present. They're already worried and thinking what's going to surface.
Yeah.
Let's not even talk about that. Let's talk about fixing this and explain, hey, if a thought comes up, I want you just to explore it. And if you want to talk to me, share what happens.
Yeah, it's more so like focusing on putting one and one together versus focus on what two may look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what's the equation is going to end up as instead of just like focusing on the actual equation. You know, I think that's a very good thing to do. And sometimes even when people like do that and so hyper focus on the conclusion or whatever, they start making up conclusions versus actually be able to deal with the conclusion that's there. You know, you kind of have to be open and you have to like what you call it, empty your cup. So whatever is supposed to fill up your cup fills up your cup. You know what I mean? Versus you kind of like having that water already there. You know, because like, or I mean, sometimes people do have things that they do need to like let out. You know, that's been bothering them. You know, and sometimes like for me, yeah, it does help to be do it like let it out verbally, but sometimes it helps to let it out physically in a positive, productive manner. You know what I mean?
And a lot of time that's done through the process is you have to let down the guard. And letting down the guard is usually done through a down-regulated approach. It's when you feel safe. It's when you feel safe to explore that stuff.
I have to leave in a second, but you quickly, or I don't know, I cannot say quickly, but he over down regulation, and we'll end after that.
Yeah, so long story short, down regulation, Dr. Porges, he is with the University of North Carolina, I believe. He's head of psychiatry. Did a phenomenal thing with the sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, polyvagal theory, triggering the vagus nerve for downregulation. Basically, what you're doing is you're taking the body, you're putting it into the subconscious into a super relaxed, comfortable, safe state. The fight's minimal. At that point, when you can downregulate somebody, now they have better social awareness, empathy, emotional recognition. They can actually connect with thoughts and emotions and people better. And actually they want to talk more, right? Especially with me, when I'm down regulated, you almost see a different facial feature in myself.
Yeah, you do.
You see a different color. You see a different vibe, a different energy. And I actually want to talk.
It's like, almost like a different personality. Like,
I mean, essentially, but it's an overwhelming. You have so many endorphins, and you have such a ability and want to connect. And you have an openness that you're willing to share at that point. And that's done through movements, done through breathing, other things too, because if the more regulated you are, the easier it is to find that downregulated state. But so at the end of training, I downregulate. At the end of a stressful day or fight or anything, I downregulate just to prove to the subconscious, the body, we're still good, we're safe. But ultimately what will happen is that's when you can connect with a lot of emotions going on, and there's clarity of why some stuff might be there. So anger, okay, well, it's not the road rage that's really pissing you off. It's the relationship you have with your brother when, you know what I mean, like when you're 8, or just something you might just deep-seated deep in you that you've buried so deep, and that downregulation helps peel the layers of your own emotional awareness. And then the ultimate that I want to connect. So now I'm realizing what's making me angry, and now my guard is so down, and I want the ability to connect with Dentsu that I want to tell Dentsu about the emotion I have. And then guess what? Now I release that emotion. I tell you about my life. I cry a few tears, or I laugh, or who knows what emotion is. It's not always negative. There can be positive emotion. Like we're happy, energetic people. Like it doesn't have to be doom and gloom. But if I face what is making me angry, release it, it might be in the form of crying or whatever. Now I've put that out, and now there's almost a release that you feel within yourself, like we've dealt with this. We've found out something that we've held. We've put it out there. I don't feel it anymore, and now I'm not I'm not hanging on to it. But I didn't know what it was. You know what I mean? Like, but our body remembers, and that's the whole thing about the body keeps the score. The conscious may forget, but the subconscious doesn't. The superego and the ego might still not know, but the id, the body does. It does, And it's how do you make that stuff surface, get out, and get past it? And that's such a phenomenal work with people, because you feel like there's real healing there. You feel like, okay, cool, we can build even further on this. And it's me, like when I first started it, there's a lot of tears. there's a lot of crying, there's a lot of emotion,
Yeah.
there's a lot of anger release, there's a lot of epiphany about myself. And sometimes you want that, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes you're like, you just downregulate and just feel good. Like, that's been my last 6 months.
Yeah.
Is that emotions really haven't happened? I just feel great. I feel fine. But when something comes up, I make sure to take the practices of doing it to go ahead and release that before I hold it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Like, and it helps me address clearer why the emotion is entering me.
Yeah. I think what it reminds me of is sometimes I tell like a story and go around in like a tangent to get what I like want to say or whatever, but there's a reason for that. So it reminds me of a story that comes from Mali in West Africa, and it talks about the origins, right? Of like it's basically like a creation story, but it talks about like the creator having like creating everything with a positive and negative side, like a male and female side, right? And chaos got born into the world when the male aspect of one thing broke off from the female aspect, you know. And so in that way, it showed like an imbalance happening, and then that imbalance just grew and grew and grew and grew because it disassociated completely with the other side of it, you know. And that doesn't mean that it's supposed to be totally the other side all the time. It just means it has to have that there, you know what I mean? And so when it comes to like upregulation or downregulation, sympathetic or parasympathetic, you have to have that
Dopamine or
access
serotonin.
to both of those sides in order to create that balance within one life so that you can be able to call upon it when you need it. But when you break off completely from it, you steer out way too far in another direction and cause chaos within your life and within your body and your mind. And so I think that it's essential for us as people to know how to call upon that other side. You know, like Maladoma talks about how Maldon is a priest in West Africa, and he talks about how they do like a ritual with men every single year, where they like do it by a river and they have all the men cry, you know. But it's to help release certain things that happen to them throughout that year and that build up, whether it was good or bad. But just like how you have that hardness, you also have to have the water. You have to have the softness to help balance you out. And so I think that it's very good to be able to address that, you know, versus always trying to address the pushing the button aspect of things.
I mean, it's within my own belief. I'm a Christian. Good and evil.
Yeah.
Sin and light. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
It doesn't matter. Like, that is a universal principle that you see. There's an arch behind everything.
Yeah.
There's always the balance.
Yeah.
And I think the key is finding your good state.
Yeah.
In that balance.
Yeah.
And navigating through it as good as we can.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because
Yes,
we're in a fallen world.
Yeah.
Like, we're never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
We're always going to have that fight to fight.
Yeah.
But we always have to find that control along the way.
Yeah.
And that healthy balance along the way
too as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna end it right there for today, y'all. Thank y'all for listening in. Peace.